The Toronto Blue Jays and the rest of Major League Baseball are 30 hours away from the trade deadline, which is tomorrow. And they've already been pretty active. They've made three deals and they've gotten a slew of prospects and have started to restock that farm system that has been widely regarded as one of the worst around Major League Baseball. But the Blue Jays are not done yet. They still have some names that need to be shipped off. And I'm talking about Yusei Kikuchi, Chad Green, Justin Turner, Kevin Kiermaier, IKF, however you want to list these names, they're probably going to be gone by the deadline tomorrow, and a report confirms that. So I'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jay's Digest. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into Deadline Talk. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And Nick, we're going to be very busy these next 2 days. I don't know how I'm going to manage everything. I don't know how I'm going to juggle everything, but I'm going to try my best to be there alongside you and to keep you guys updated on whatever is going on Toronto Blue Jays and deadline talk. I mean, we do expect a lot more movement to happen between now and 6 p.m. tomorrow, and of course, we're going to zero in on Yusei Kikuchi. But judging the rest of the market and the way that we've seen other moves go down around Major League Baseball, you've got to believe that Chad Green is someone that many contenders have circled on their radars. And the Blue Jays would quite frankly be idiotic to not explore those trades for Chad Green because he's a reliever with an extra year of control. We already saw how much AJ Puck got the Marlins in return, and he has 2 years of control left after this one. So I really think the Blue Jays should explore a trade in regards to Chad Green and maybe Isaiah Kiner-Falefa as well. I know they want to compete in 2025, but I think they've nailed each and every one of the moves that they've had so far in terms of restocking the farm system. And their top 30 looks a lot different than it did just a few days ago. And that's because of the trades that they've made for Jimmy Garcia, for Danny Jansen, and they're just making the right moves. Nate Pearson as well was dealt. So the Jays have been active. I expect them to be a lot more active in the next couple of days. And this was only just the beginning.
Yeah, the fire sale started and a brand new report just dropped. But before we get into it, a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. We're going to have lots of videos for you coming. But let's start with this. So Ben Nicholson-Smith yesterday dropped an article basically discussing where the Jays stand ahead of the trip to Baltimore. And he basically said names to look out for until the trade deadline include Kikuchi, Chad Green, Justin Turner, IKF, and Kiermaier. Yankees are a fit for Chad Green. So Ben Nicholson-Smith links the Yankees to Chad Green. He also said the Padres have had scouts in Toronto that could be interested in some of their players, such as Chad Green, such as Yusei Kikuchi. And then this morning there was another kind of report that dropped from 2 hours ago from Ben Nicholson-Smith. So this is the latest news here. And he basically discussed the market and how the way the relief market's going, Chad Green's value may be on the rise and the Jays are looking to take advantage. So another report saying that the Jays are going to be looking to ship off Chad Green. And the Padres are also scouting the Jays, which I'll dive into in a second here. But Peter, all signs now are pointing to Chad Green being traded. And it really seems like, I mean, the Padres are interested. The Yankees are definitely interested. And obviously, we've seen the Rays have a bit of a fire sale here. But the latest from Ben Nicholson-Smith basically says that Chad Green is most likely on his way out, as well as Yusei Kikuchi. But Yusei Kikuchi is kind of a given at this point. We might have an update for you guys later on that. But it seems like Chad Green is going to be headed out. And obviously, Kikuchi as well. But that's been inevitable at this point.
Yeah, and another starter to keep an eye on is not on the Blue Jays, but is Jack Flaherty of the Detroit Tigers, and he's supposed to start tonight for the Tigers. And I'm sure a lot of contending teams that have him on their radars don't want him to make that start. They want his next start to be in their uniform. So I think that's another name to keep an eye on. And he may be the first one to go ahead of Yusei Kikuchi, which is why the process has been delayed a little bit. The Jays have wasted no time in making moves, but I think they're waiting for Flaherty to be dealt. And then they're waiting for Kikuchi to be the most valuable starter left on the market, unless I don't know, the Tigers decide to go full rebuild mode and trade Tarek Skubal as well. But I think that's very unlikely. So I believe that they're waiting for the Flaherty domino to fall, and then Kikuchi is going to be dealt probably immediately after that deal goes through. So you got to believe that Detroit's going to trade him an expiring contract, and so a team that isn't going to make the playoffs. So I think the Jays are just waiting for that. But yes, on the Chad Green front, Nick, I definitely think the Jays need to explore that trade because we've seen what Jason Adam got in return for the Tampa Bay Rays. We've seen a lot of relievers get good returns. And even if we look in-house, the Blue Jays, they got a really nice return for 60 games of Jimmy Garcia. Jonathan Clase is probably going to be an everyday player for them as the season dwindles here. And I know he's in AAA right now, but I believe he'll probably be up in the next couple of weeks just to let him play out the season and see how he develops in a Blue Jays uniform. So the Jays definitely need to explore the Chad Green trades, and I expect him to be the one to go maybe even before Kikuchi because we've already set the precedent for the reliever market and it's inflated. A lot of teams are paying top dollar for relievers, and I think the Jays need to take advantage of that because every deadline we see it, right? We see teams that have relievers on expiring deals, and they milk the teams that want to trade for them and get as many assets as they want in return because that's a hot commodity at the deadline. There's a lot of bad bullpens around Major League Baseball. None quite as bad as the Blue Jays, but there's a lot of bad bullpens that need some reinforcement heading into the playoffs. And I think Chad Green, with his experience, with his consistency over the course of his career, can definitely help out one of those teams and fetch a pretty good return for the Jays.
Yeah, and let's not forget the Jays play a doubleheader today, so they have a game in 3 hours and they have another
Ugh.
game later tonight. And I'm going to be very interested to see what they do with their relievers. I mean, we're 1 day removed from the deadline here. Are they going to let it go out and risk anything with Chad Green? I mean, they'll probably have to use him. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But this is another thing to keep an eye on, and this kind of came out of the blue this morning, is that the San Diego Padres are eyeing many of the Blue Jays trade chips, including Kikuchi, including Kevin Kiermaier, Trevor Richards, even IKF to a degree. But again, you can see at the bottom here, the Blue Jays definitely aren't shopping Vladdy. If anything, it might be time to think about an extension. But if anyone would try to pry him away, it might be the Padres GM, AJ Preller. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that part. That's a little wild. I do think that the Jays are going to ultimately keep Vladdy and extend him. But you can see at the bottom, more likely, smaller deals are under consideration. And it wouldn't be the first time Ross is connected with Preller on trades, such as BJ Upton back in the day. Javier Solarte, we all remember these days with Socrates Brito. Hopefully we don't get a Socrates Brito return back for anybody. But I think the thing here is that it seems like the Padres, and the way that Ben Nicholson-Smith is wording this, it's almost like he's hinting at the fact that there's definitely going to get a deal done between the Padres here. And the Jays do have a lot of chips, and whether that's IKF, whether that's Chad Green, whether that's Kikuchi is up in the air. But it seems like the Padres are really trying to get one of the Jays' top available players, even if that isn't Vladdy, but is some of the other smaller, in air quotes, guys like Kikuchi, or even a guy like Trevor Richards, or, of course, Chad Green could be a fit as well.
Yeah, well, maybe the Blue Jays do a full 180 and start to buy now that they've won 3 games in a row. Who knows? Maybe they're envisioning a playoff run with this current roster that they have. But no, I think the teardown is well but underway, and the Blue Jays are definitely going to be looking to get the most that they can in return for Chad Green and Yusei Kikuchi. And I think looking for an IKF trade as well could definitely be smart business for them. You don't want to give him up for nothing. He's not someone that's leaving for nothing at the end of the year, but it's definitely something to explore. And on the Vladdy front, his OPS is now up to 870. He's been one of the best players in baseball over the past 2 months. So an extension, I think, would do wonders for this fan base. And amidst all the chaos and all the hatred thrown towards Ross Atkins, I think an extension for Vladdy would do well in smoothing things over between the fan base and the front office. And I think that would be smart for the Blue Jays to go out and explore. But anyone else, I think they're on the table apart from, let's say, Vladdy or Gosman or Spencer Horwitz or anyone that figures to be a long-term solution for this Blue Jays team heading into 2025.
Maybe we'll see some Bo Bichette chatter pick up over the next 24 to
Maybe.
40, well, 24 to 30 hours. But let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. A lot going down. We'll have you up to date with the latest news. And maybe this will be the last day where Yusei Kikuchi is a part of the Blue Jays roster. We'll see you guys soon.